Hello and welcome to what we have decided to call Soma Chats with Marla and Erica. And today we want to talk a little bit about the our seated life. As human beings, a large portion of our life is designed to happen from a chair. It's more than you think, not just sitting at a desk. It's when you're in a car, you could be on a plane, you could be waiting in an office, eating dinner, watching a show, scrolling on your phone. The amount of time we spent sitting in our modern life has become a little bit out of control. And both Erica and I work with humans in many different ways. I would say a big part of our job is that we offset the damage of sitting. I said that once as a yoga teacher. I recognized this about 3 or 4 years into yoga teaching in the middle of a very busy part of downtown Vancouver. I was like, I think my job here is to massage the shape of the chair out of your bodies. Because when they would sit down, their knees pop up, their hamstrings are tight, their back is, I was like, you guys all look like you're still sitting in a chair.
Peel them away. Yes.
What
Yeah,
are
I
your thoughts
agree.
on
I was
that, Erica?
even as you were talking the intro, I was like, oh yeah, even I remember I'd have to look this up for reference, but that I read once that the lower but one of the bones in the shin bone, the tibia, the plateau, so the top of it is actually starting to change shape. It used to be a little bit more rounded because we would squat. So of course, then it would be shaped a little bit differently. And now it's starting to actually change to be more flat with people, amongst other things, other little changes in our bone structure and nuances, sort of also demonstrating that relationship between structure and function. Like if you sit, your body is going to, shape itself to the chair.
It's true. We are our habits. They say that looking at pets, sometimes they're like, how do the pets and the owners start to look alike? It's not quite the same thing, but yeah, I remember as I began researching sitting
Mm.
and listening to different experts talk about the right way to sit, and this is how you should sit. When you really do your research, the way we're designed to sit is actually a squat, and you just mentioned that.
Mm.
However, evolutionarily, we're kind of opting out of that in our structure. Our
Yeah.
structure is not
And
really inclined that way.
some of the chairs, like the more ergonomic chairs, a couple companies I really like, and they actually make their chairs purposefully like movement dynamic. So they're meant not to be too comfortable, but they actually are meant to be quite diverse in the way you can sit in them. So they
Mm.
might wobble a little bit so that you have some movement, or you can sit in them variety of different ways. Like the one chair I really love, I can sit backwards, and the backrest is on my front and I can lean on my elbows and
Oh, how
sit
fun.
sideways and put a leg over. Like it's a great chair. I love it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, people often ask me that. Well, what's the best way to sit? And I mean, there is structurally from my perspective, we do know that our intervertebral discs are much more stronger and more resilient when they're getting equal pressure from above and from below, if you're going to
Hmm.
be still, but we're not designed to be still. So there is that, but mostly I tell people to change it up, like what you just said. Change it up. They're like, well, I have a standing desk. I don't even need to think about this. Well, standing has its own challenges, in my opinion. I mean, it's good to have the option.
Some diversity. Yeah. A lot of people I know don't, they get really comfortable in seated and then they'll forget to use their standing desk. So there's that habit as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then, how are you standing? I mean, so one of the things that I try to do with my work is like, okay, if you must sit, learn to sit well.
So what are the other cues? Because I don't know. I haven't taken your sitting class.
Okay.
I know
Now,
you thrive with sitting classes, but is maybe not. It's probably moving while you're sitting and trying different ways. So yeah,
well,
what do you?
thrive while sitting. So I basically the premise is if you must sit, learn to sit well, because it was back in around 2009 that Dr. Levine from the Mayo Clinic coined that phrase, sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
And what he meant, it's not really smoking and it's kind of a silly phrase, but what he meant by that is I would equate it more to like you're like the frog in the pot where the water is cool at first and then the temperature is just slowly rising over time. So when you sit in a bit of a slump at first, it's no big deal. But if you're going to sit that way for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, day upon day, year upon year, the damage shows up in your spine. So I just started to recognize that the things that I was learning in my studies around the design of our spine, I thought to myself, well, if people understood this, they would probably respect their spine a lot more and probably do a lot less damage. So
Hmm.
back in 2009, when he said that, people were like, oh, yeah, don't sit, stand, do a walking meeting and move. And well, yes, all of that is great. I agree. But I don't think it necessarily got people interested in, well, is there a way that I could be sitting that would create less damage? So I teach people the three
Like,
main spinal directions, flexion, extension, and so we start to explore the gravity line. And the gravity line is really familiar to you, Erica, because I know you've studied Eldoa, and so Eldoa is a lot around um, supporting, building, and strengthening our sense of center or gravity line. So when we're sitting, if we're also in that gravity line and we have the support of our structure, we're tapped into our natural postural support, the cylinder, pelvic floor, that kind of
yes.
cylinder, and then the breathing, the respiratory diaphragm. When that cylinder is lined up, we have our natural postural pressure.
Hmm.
So how do we get back to that? So we've got to reduce some of the tension. We've got to do some tension release. We've got to reacquaint ourselves with the gravity line and get back there in a natural way because it's not a stuck position. It's kind of a fluid place.
So are you doing that through movement then in the classes
Yeah,
or?
through movement, through and the classes are short. They're designed to be done from your chair, and
Yeah.
and we explore the spinal directions and in a pursuit of center.
Yes. Okay.
So as we move and do these things, we're like, okay, this is too far. This, okay, where's the center? So center of your pelvis, center for your ribs, center for your head.
Yeah. And you're encouraging then people to explore this kind of movement throughout their day as well.
Yeah, I try to
Things to,
encourage them to. So I have a 12-week program
okay.
where each week we kind of pick a little learning theme, and then you have a few little micro practices or exercises associated with that theme. So each week we kind of gather a new skill, but then within
Yeah.
that we have about a 10-minute practice that kind of touches in on everything. And then within each of those weeks, you could dive deeper into some of the more specific tension release exercises for that area. Like, let's say, neck is your main thing. You could kind of dig in and find more of my little tension release for your neck. So that gradually over that 12-week period, you're building your skill set of micro practices, understanding of your body and where you hold tension and what are your little fixes. And then I encourage everyone to do little micro practices throughout the day when
Yeah.
you have like a natural, when you've done your work and you like take a bathroom break or you go to make some tea before you dive back in, take an extra 2 or 3 minutes so that you're doing that several times a day and it's not like you have to really put it in your schedule.
Lovely. Yeah. And are the people who are taking the class finding good changes?
Yes, people are quite amazed actually because there are lots of very, more generic stretch at your desk programs where, but I wouldn't say there's lots. I've tried to look into it. But because of the things that I've studied, and you're aware of most of them through studying Pilates, through studying Buteyko breathing and Eldoa, um, the exercises are very clear and targeted.
Yeah.
So people are quite surprised at how effective it is quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't take much. I think what people really be lovely if they could find more curiosity. But that's yeah, my personal pursuit is how to encourage curiosity
That's
for
true.
people to try new things and investigate. How are you going to find a solution to a problem if you keep yourself restricted in your belief system or in one approach, especially if the approach isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens with in healthcare, some people will stay focused or believe that there's only like, okay, it's only going to be my physical therapist that's going to be able to solve my problem. And then
It's true.
I see it like it's not always just a physical therapist or just that one practitioner. It may be impactful and make some changes, but then there's usually this yeah, plateau that is reached. And then it's that bridge of like, okay, self-care and education that for me is huge. And I believe you two agree in that.
Very, very huge. Yeah.
Talk about that. But other modalities that might be seemingly, yeah, just different, let's put it, more subtle,
Mhm.
and maybe harder to access for the general public. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So the Thrive While Sitting program that I've created is kind of a blend of those because recognizing that the people I'm trying to reach with this program are not necessarily soma nerds like we are,
Mhm.
and it's designed to meet them at their desk. So, for example, a lot of people who have been desk workers and maybe have been, I don't want to say like totally sedentary, but their life has become more sedentary. For those people, often raising their arms over their head starts to be really challenging.
Yeah.
And as you know, with Eldoa, a lot of the postures, we have the arms raised up overhead and we're
Yeah.
palms spread open and pushing the hand. And so when that movement gets locked out, as soon as you try to raise your arm higher than your shoulder, all of these muscles in your neck and upper trapezius just grab and almost block. So
Yeah.
one of the things I'll get them to do is we'll try to do the elbow without the arms for a while, but obviously that's something that needs attention, that needs work.
Yeah.
But
Well, you also would adapt the height of the arms too, right? You,
yeah, yeah. So sometimes what we can do is like just rest the palms on the top of our head so
yeah.
that you can drop the shoulders down. Another one that I really like is I got into the work of Esther Gockhale. I'm not sure if you've heard of her. She a client loaned her book to me, and she studied anthropologically like posture around the world and back pain around the world. And so one of the exercises I got from her, we kind of did this as dancers, just normally,
Okay.
which is I call it manual traction. So if you're sitting in a chair, you can just kind of put your hands on either side of your hips if you can.
Come on,
Push,
Steve.
yeah, push down, put on your stool, push down through the palm of your hands and push your shoulders down and push the top of your head to the sky.
Yeah.
Let your pelvis kind of dangle. So you're doing, I call it manual traction because you're in control of it, but it's not actively coming from your spine.
Yeah.
But I find it gets the opposite muscles. Like if you just shrug your shoulders up to your ears and feel all those muscles that bunch up, when you put your hands beside your hips and you push down, basically doing the antagonistic, protagonistic, the opposite
Yeah.
set, the opposite group of muscles, and your neck suddenly gets longer, and we start to strengthen the whole shoulder girdle and upper body. Um,
Lovely.
So I really love that. And that starts to show your spine what is traction? What does that feel like? And it's under your control. So
Yeah.
I really like that one.
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, I've done that lots as a dancer for sure, and even as a
Yeah, we would do
a
it standing.
non-dancer.
Yeah, we would kind of bend over and push our palms at the top of our thighs and with
Yeah,
your feet in a wide second position, and just kind of push there
yeah.
to open up the spine a little bit. But yeah, I mean,
What
and it's
about this psoas? Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm curious, what about this psoas with sitting? You must talk a lot about that. That might be helpful for people to hear something
well,
about
I'd like to actually find a way.
the hip
I
flexor for people who are.
Exactly. I don't, that is one area where my program is probably lacking, to be totally honest, because I wanted to be able to meet people where they're at, which is in the chair.
Couldn't you do so I know that Guy Voyer, the Soma training has psoas stretch. Couldn't you do that in seated?
How would we do it in seated?
So if you're seated, you would turn your chair sideways. You wouldn't have to be on the knee. You'd put one foot forward as if you're kneeling, put the other one back,
Yes.
put the arms
Yes. I've done
back.
that. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. So you're at the front edge of your
I
chair.
mean, it would be a stretch. It would, there, I'm sure
Yep.
there, yeah, that's what
Yep.
comes to mind.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm going to sneeze.
Oh, yeah.
Um, phew.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Yeah, so I have worked on that actually. And because I've been teaching this class for like once a week for almost 2 years now. And so I almost think of it like sometimes chair gymnastics when you start doing that and you kind of come to that front edge, you've got like basically like one sit bone on the chair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're kind of in it kneeling. Yep, I do
Then
that.
you don't have to worry about like,
Shoot.
some people with that stretch, they're uncomfortable. So it would be a factor of progression.
Yes.
Paul,
Yes,
each
exactly.
of
I
us.
also do sometimes we just get up from the chair and just put our hands on the chair and do like a bit of a lunge.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, posterior pelvic tilt, just tuck the tailbone to the pubic bone. And I think also with with the psoas hip flexor issue, the glute muscles go to sleep, the hamstring muscles go to sleep. So then kind of leaning forward on the chair, almost using it like a ballet bar where you just kind of raise your back leg a little bit and just kind of get the glute hamstring guys back online a little bit.
That makes me think of there's a beautiful Feldenkrais series called Buttocks.
Oh, fun.
And it's really fun. So like even in seated, so if you're seated and you just contract your buttocks,
Yes.
you can even see it. It looks like I'm trotting on.
Yes.
Anyways, so it's a
Like you're
really,
riding a horse.
really wonderful lesson series because he has the students contract really slowly so they can feel the different fibers and the sides that dominant. And
Mm.
then same thing with releasing. And then he plays with speed with really strong, quick. So he's working different fibers, the slow and quick fibers, and then releasing quickly. And then he has like light and quick. And then you change the position of the feet. I imagine you could do that in seated. You could do parallel knees in, knees out, like what you would do with the glutes for the four positions with the legs. With
Yes. Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I've taught a series of lessons like that you could easily, yeah, do.
Yeah, and I have played with too when you're sitting in the chair and you've just got your feet nicely hip width apart right under your knees. Press into, allow that foot to sink down and press. So you'll start to feel your foot wake up, the calf muscle, the quad into
Oh,
that
yeah.
whole glute side, and you kind of go from side to side. See, then it's like
Yeah, this is stuff that we talked once about doing
airplane,
yes,
airplane.
our travel series. This is
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
is
and I used to actually use that one that we talked about where you like make double fists and put them between your knees, just inside your knees, and you press. And I like that little press, hug the inner thighs together, and then you feel that like bubble go up the top of your head, as you wake up the inner thighs, pelvic floor along the spine. Then put your hands to the outside, press your knees into your hands outside, and then you kind of your whole body kind of goes little.
yeah, I do instead of changing my hands, I'll put like a cushion, especially if like I'm on a plane. I will do this. So I'll squeeze knees together, release, and then I'll squeeze ankles together. And then I'll squeeze
Oh,
knees together, and then I squeeze ankles together.
oh, that's cool.
And then what you can do is begin to play with speed. Um,
Mm.
and sometimes I'll be like, I'll get my patients to do it like to a waltz. I'm like, can you hold for one, two, three, and two, two, three, and then you can do a fast waltz too. So just so that there's some rhythm to it, and they're almost like pumping the SI joints. And
Now, when you press the ankles together, do you allow the knees to come apart at all?
yes,
Okay.
I do, because you're firing your glutes when you do that, when you squeeze the ankles together, and when you squeeze the knees together, you're activating your stabilizer, so your medial chain. Yeah, adductors.
Okay. Diane Miller used to have us when we would do rolling like a ball, which is a Pilates exercise on the floor.
Yeah.
And she would have us sing, How much is that dog in the window?
Yeah.
Because most of the time, especially on your back, when you're rolling like a ball, you're kind of in this egg shape. And as soon
Yeah.
as you go onto your shoulders, we're a little bit like a beetle on our back. And it's instinctual that you just want to come back. So you have to let yourself languish over there.
The
So
stall.
the rhythm really helps. So yeah, I agree with you. Finding a waltz or a little song that gives you
Yeah.
a rhythm,
Something. Yeah.
something.
Your headset music.
Yeah, and getting curious. It is really interesting how I think having devices, the scrolling that we do that gives us some kind of a dopamine hit that that tricks us into the feeling of relaxation
Mm.
and kind of numbs our brain. I think it kind of sucks our curiosity, you know,
Yeah, it's
our
like a
ability to be curious about
continuous
ourselves.
curiosity. Yeah, it's a different kind of curiosity because you're looking for that, for something, a dopamine hit. Yeah.
Outside of you, something outside of you. And you have to, even when you're doing it, you have to actually weed through so much junk before you might even find a little nugget of interest. And
Mhm.
yeah, so finding a way to give people the idea that they could get interested and they could get curious about their breath or their body or how they're sitting or how they're feeling. Um,
So these classes that you're teaching, the Thrive While Sitting, are they 30 minutes?
they're about
Oh, okay, okay. So that's
20
great.
minutes.
So
Yeah, it's
enough time.
designed that you could just take a little break from work.
That's perfect. Yeah. And then eat your lunch after or something.
Yeah, yeah, and I've set it up purposely that you can kind of jump in, and if you need to jump out, you jump out. I mean, it's on video, so it's very casual. They also get recorded, so if you're part of my membership, you have access to all of the recordings, and I
Mhm.
label them of what we focused on that day.
Nice.
Um, and occasionally, we've just done a 10 minute. You know, we're like, you know what? Let's do short and sweet.
Yeah.
So it's nice. My whole theory is around micro practices and frequency over duration, that you start to create these little habits.
Yeah.
Um,
That
and
pairs well with Eldoa.
yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, I felt like at a certain point, as I was gathering my studies and modalities, I just felt like this is pointing to something. And
Mm,
so in a way, this Thrive While Sitting program has kind of become like a passionate project, legacy project, my life's work in a way.
yeah.
So my hope is to start getting it out there in a big way to people who might not normally find this kind of work. In other words, like let's let the corporation pay and take care of their employees a little bit better.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
that's the other thing I find is I mean, I consider myself an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur, I would say as well. Um, when I bring this forward to other entrepreneurs, I just feel like everyone is so concerned about their bottom line that prioritizing their health and their body is not necessarily top of mind. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. I'm glad I know that exists. Anyway, what's the next tip that's going to get me to 10 and 20K months? You know,
Right.
they're curious about that more
Mm,
so than about their own health. So, getting people, I just coming back to your theme of how do you get people a little more curious about their health and curious about how can they actively be a steward of their health.
yeah. Yeah. I would agree in general with that culture for sure. I do think there are cracks though. Let's go into the cracks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Tell
the
me. I
goals.
want to know.
Yeah. Well, just like for example, I'm working with a business coach and sales coach right now, and I've never done anything like that, and it is interesting. I do feel that they have a particular also understanding that we as business owners need to take care of our health because if you can't nurture yourself, how can you nurture your business? So sort of that, and I feel that's quite loud and clear with them and the message they're sharing with me. So like one of the first things I did with them was just change how I was prioritizing my time. I do spend a lot of time taking care of myself in very informal ways and just the sort of way I take care of my home and the way I fold my laundry, for example. Like I'll sit Japanese style, and every time I sit up, I engage my body, and then I sit back down. So there, like I like to do things dynamically. Like I'm gonna dance my way through my house chores. Um,
I love it. That's so good.
yeah, not shying away from squats when I have to put things away in my really awkward kitchen. Um, and yeah, so all that to say, I do feel that's changing the reorganization of time. So, like,
Mhm,
that I really need to have time for myself, that's so that then I can worry about the rest of the stuff when I
mhm,
haven't at later in the day, that I'm not
mhm.
distracted. I've noticed that I feel better in my day and more capable in the jobs and tasks that I have when I do take care of myself. in that
Mm,
focused way. Now, it is challenging, especially with the time management and you sort of do a good job and then you don't, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm not doing what I said. So that
right.
accountability she's helping with as well.
Mhm.
And other people too. And then or you just notice like, oh yeah, well, my back hurts or this hurts or I feel stressed out. It's like, oh yeah, well, I didn't do my self-care. I didn't go for a jog. I didn't go outside.
Right.
I didn't go to my garden or do those things this week.
Yeah, I mean, much like our alignment, it is kind of like a moving, shifting thing,
Yeah.
And
There's
so,
this, let me
mhm,
use moving, shifting. I have to say this. Um, there is something I learned. I took a physiology course because my physiology wasn't so good. And there's a phrase that they call the cell membrane, the fluidic mosaic model. And I
okay.
love that because he described it as like really like the ocean or like this undulating structure. It's not fixed. It's a
Mhm,
membrane. I don't even really like the word membrane. I feel like it's limiting in our picture, but it actually is permeable. So I love that. The fluidic
mhm.
mosaic membrane
The fluid mosaic
model.
membrane.
It's a model. Yeah, fluidic mosaic model is what it's called. So I love that. I see you undulating, so I have to.
Yes, oh, I love that. I mean, I think that it's a great model for life. I totally agree with you. We do the best we can. We we learn things that help us. We learn things that work for us. Like for example, you're saying, I know that if I take care of these certain things, the rest of my day is gonna go better. I'm gonna feel better. All of those things. I think sometimes I have to sit down and remind myself of the things that I know are good for me that I'm maybe not doing and
Yeah.
um, and bring one or two of those back.
And to go back to the corporations, I must say, like Guy Voyer, for example, was inspired to take there was that ask from the French government to help with back pain. They understood that it was a loss of income for them because they were having to pay people on disability or not working because they were in pain and unable to work. So for me, I do think it is an investment and that culture is changing, but just maybe slowly. It's something to
Yeah.
remind them, like if your people are happier, they're going to be more productive and capable in their
Hmm.
jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting depending on who you're speaking with, right? Like the individual has their concerns, and the corporation or the management or the HR, they have their concerns. And I do hear from a lot of places that hiring good people and then keeping good people can be challenging. So finding ways to show your team some appreciation for what they do. They're sitting long hours to make
Yeah.
things happen. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It can be frustrating at times,
Yeah.
but just got to find the right people.
Yes.
I'm curious though, Erica, what when you have people coming to see you for osteopathy, what are some things you notice from people who sit for long hours? What are some of the things that pop
Right.
up?
Yeah, aside from just the back pain and the herniated or bulging discs.
Yeah, those are kind of screaming.
Yeah, there's yeah, definitely the upper back or the lower back, the neck, headaches, eye strain. That would be sort of, and there's different patterns you might see for sure. A lot of time at the desk, yeah, a lot of upper back and neck strain.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, the other ones that just sort of become compressed and yeah,
Well, sometimes I wonder if, the cylinder I was talking about earlier, when that cylinder is either misaligned or just completely collapsed, then we're kind of holding ourselves up from the upper back and neck.
yeah, and some of the things like what I noticed, okay, this was an interesting one recently. Somebody actually had symptoms down into the arm. And the problem was not, of course, there was something going on with the neck at the levels where the brachial nerves emerge. But it wasn't the place that I went to immediately or found the most beneficial for that person. Actually, what I found was upper cervical was so compressed they could no longer like
Mm,
sit up. And then of course the chest was so pulled forward, pulled down that the head was being pulled forward and down. So then of course the symptoms were going into the arm. So that was a really interesting, it did take I think it was about four treatments before because they work a lot and a little bit too much, and had
mhm,
actually done something in their physical acts, like activities that had exacerbated or created an event.
mhm.
um, but we got some really good changes. We're able to slowly introduce some L-DOAs that were appropriate and have taken a nice progression.
Oh,
So
good.
I've seen everything from like even like the mousing, the intense mousing. Like I remember an engineer once, they were working on drawings a lot. So they were mousing like with great precision and ended up with like tendonitis at the clavicle, at the
Wow.
sternum. So sometimes it's like weird things, not necessarily just the spine.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes think about digestion too. Like if we're sitting
Also,
in a
absolutely.
collapse, digestion is affected, circulation.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we wouldn't necessarily instantly connect that to sitting. When we tend to, I'm just thinking to myself, we tend to connect sitting more with that upper back neck pain, low back pain, shoulder, eye strain, but there is the whole systemic aspect of it too, that
Hmm.
when you're collapsed and your diaphragm can't move and your organs are kind of getting a compressed squeeze in an imbalanced
Yeah,
way.
your pressure systems are off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess maybe I still try to think, okay, what did he mean when he said sitting is the new smoking? I think he just meant that it's damaging in ways that you may not expect.
Yeah.
Well, not, he didn't just mean that, but yeah, it's fascinating. Well, I love our conversations, Erica. This is
Likewise.
so fun.
That's fun, Marla. Thanks.
And yeah, I would love to share more about the Thrive while Sitting practice with you and get some of your influences and encouragement as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All
Thanks.
right. Well, we'll meet again, same time, same place next week.
Have